Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of May 11th, 2023. First on the agenda is West Branch Auxiliary Dam, 34 Drewville Road, for a public hearing. I don't believe Mike, Rich, Pat, you didn't have any comments. It's open for public hearing. Does anyone from the public wish to be heard on this application? Please. Please come up to the front and state your name.
My name is James Evans. I live adjacent to the property. It surrounds my property. I don't know anything about the project, how it's going to affect my groundwater, my well water, and if they're going to bring their leasee for that property into compliance with town code.
I'll ask the applicant to give a little overview of the job. We've had several reviews with this already, but I'll ask the applicant to give you a little update right now.
Yes, hi, I'm Paul Costa. I'm with New York City DEP's Bureau of Engineering, Design, and Construction. And yeah, this project we've been planning for some years. Basically, the situation we're trying to address is there's a local stabilization issue at the top of the dam that adjacent to where the roadway abuts it. And you could be seeing as you drive on the roadway, you see the pavement cracking and this like sloughing off. So that it's not a like broad dam issue, but it's a localized issue. We realize we have to decrease the slope so it becomes stabilized. So in order to do that, that's what's kind of prompting us to have to redo the entire roadway up top. So the first stage of the work is to bring in soil, flatten the slope, and then redo the entire roadway up top. We'll be improving the drainage on the roadway, the drainage off the dam. That'll all be collected into swales, and there's some wetlands we're managing around. But there's no, but the specific question, there was a question?
James had a question, was what would the impact be to his house? He's a local neighbor that surrounds his property and or any other homes around it. Is there any adverse impacts to anyone living there?
I mean, in terms of impacts, certainly there's the traffic issues because there'll be trucks coming in and we'll be putting a temporary light up at the Drewville site. I'm not sure where your house is in particular to the site, but obviously traffic is a concern and that's something we're going to be managing, working with the town, working on. But in terms of like impacts to water on the site or the groundwater, I don't see, we're not really going that deep. We're not impacting, local water aquifers. I would say no, from what I understand, but I think that answers your question. There's no impacts that we could see to any of the well water or property water or runoff onto the site or off the site.
What's the estimated time to complete the project?
So we're hoping to bid this job later this year. Next year, calendar year, we'd be doing most of the work would be on the dam, within the dam site itself. And then once we establish that new grade, so that'll all be going over like a 1-year construction period. The 2nd-year construction period will be up on the roadway, close the roadway, at 1 lane at night being closed, open up the 2 lanes. That'll be the 2nd year of construction. So we're hoping 2 full seasons of construction, about 2 years, plus or minus.
Thank you.
I know we've had several discussions about this in the past. I think that most of the board's concern is focused around traffic management, of course, which that's what you do for a living, right? Isn't that your first project?
Yes.
James, are you satisfied with the response? Do you understand what they're doing? You'll have to get back up there to speak because of people on TV.
Just for clarification, work's going to be performed at night, right, evenings?
The work in the first stage on the dam will be during the day, normal working hours, and then the work on the roadway will be mainly at night.
So during the day, there'll be no impact to traffic?
We'll have both lanes open, so,
Both lanes
except for the conditions of the roadway.
lanes are open is fine.
But the
That's
both
the
lanes
answer
will
I
be
was
open,
looking for.
correct.
And this really isn't, that does answer my question about groundwater. My other concern was if the leasee of the property, which is NYSEG, they leased the property in perpetuity from their previous electric companies for $1 a year, that property, and they're not in compliance with town law. They make noise constantly in the residential neighborhood above decibels of 65.
And who's making this noise?
NYSEG, which is on the property. They lease the property from DEP, which is not, I don't believe that would
Have
be
you
his issue.
heard anything about that, Mike, Rich?
I did not, but I will look into it. I was unaware.
Yeah, I have not heard of that. If you want to just give us a call tomorrow, we'll take a look at it. You tell us where they're staging, we'll go from there.
I actually like the way you're handling this project. I think it's nice to see a proactive infrastructure project. I don't know if the board has anything else to say?
I did have a question because I was driving over the other day. What's the plan for the utility poles?
Yeah, no, thank you. I was just going to maybe mention that for completeness for the homeowner. The NYSEG does have utility poles going across the site, so we've coordinated with them, and basically those poles are going to be, I think, I forgot how it works out, but some of them are going to be replaced with new poles because some of them are leaning, and then some will be reestablished, the lines will be reestablished. Eric, do you want to give a little detail on that? This is, juicy stuff.
Sure. Eric Leclerc, I'm the design consultant with CDM Smith, supporting DEP on this project. The utility work that's going to occur, the poles that are alongside US Route 6 and at the intersection with Drewville Road, and also a couple of poles at the site entrance, which are down along Drewville Road where you go into the site itself, will be reset. The poles that are out there now, you probably noticed that they're leaning. As Paul mentioned, when we place the fill up the slope of the dam, when they get to the point where the poles are now, the poles are going to be moved slightly away from the road to allow the widening of the road, and new poles will be set in that location. They're about 10 feet laterally from where they are now.
To the downhill slope.
It's continuing on the downhill slope of the dam.
Is there any
Yes.
thought with the power company for that section to go underground?
There was some discussion of that very early on in the project. It was looked at. There was concerns about that infrastructure being buried within the dam itself.
I mean, if it's an option, I'm putting out that much, I think we'd all much rather, I think in a way, it might be more beneficial for the roadway itself, but, it's something that I'd like you guys to talk to them a little bit further on.
Okay. We did talk, but we'll bring back those thoughts again to NYSEG, but we did have a conversation and concluded it was best to stay with the poles, but we'll bring that back to them.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Yep.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard on this applicant?
Mr. Chairman, being there's no further public comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, have a good evening.
And thank you. I just want to assure you that we're going to work as partners because we know the impacts will be there, and we're going to really work closely with the town and as we go forward.
And Pat, you'll
And our
prepare a
neighbors.
resolution? Thank you. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Platinum Propane, 1035 Route 6. Mike, Rich, I believe you did not have any comments. Pat, I believe you had a few.
I had some minor comments, but the applicant has addressed all of them. They're going to just provide some additional information, so.
Thank you.
You have two resolutions, Mr. Chairman, negative declaration, as well as the site plan approval resolution.
Any thoughts or comments from the board on this project?
I just want to ask Rich. Rich, is approval conditioned upon the comments?
Yes, it will be. So
we'll
the
put that on the
SWIP
record.
is approved, right, the SWIP will be approved, it's all part of it. Pat will do it, sorry.
It's already in the resolution.
You have it in? Okay, thank you.
By the way, just to expand on the resolution, all of the safety issues that were discussed with the applicant and the board at the last meeting are incorporated as conditions of approval as well.
We, the latest submission by Platinum discusses safety quite a bit, from breakthrough hoses. Pat, you and I spoke today, and you went back to the applicant asking, is this just, my words, passing safety regulations, or exceeding? And in most parts, it's exceeding. So I know we spent a lot of time, rightfully so, on challenging the safety requirements. Any other comments, any other concerns with this project?
No, Mr. Chair.
I would need a motion to adopt the secret.
I'll offer the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 23-09, May 11th, 2023, for tax map number 65.10-2-11, Platinum Propane, 1035 Route 6, seeker determination of significance, negative declaration.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll offer a resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 23-10, December 9th, 2021, tax map number 65.10-2-11, Platinum Propane, 1035 Route 6, final site plan approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Nice job on the safety. Thank you for the focus on the safety. That's
Thank you very much.
paramount to the neighbors and to all of us.
Yeah, and then the applicant is very respectful of the concerns of the surrounding property owners, and we're going to put together a very safe project.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is Willowwood Country Club, 551 Union Valley Road.
Good evening, Mr. Piper and members of the board. We had our public hearing on this matter. I believe that we're fully compliant with all of the issues and codes, and I believe we've addressed all comments by staff regarding this matter. I would like to point out that the town engineer did ask us to add to the site plan the line for wetlands that goes in front of the trap fields and five stand. We've had the DEC out there, I believe that was on April 27th. The wetlands, insofar as it could possibly impact on the sporting clays course, was done and is on the site plan, but Mr. Franzetti asked us to extend it all the way through. But that portion does not affect the site plan, but that's, we've been out there, we're just waiting for them to confirm what we had indicated. We were out there with the woman from the DEC, Sarah, and I'm going to butcher her last name, I apologize for that in advance. Sarah P., thank you. And the wetlands consultant that we have, Steve Marino. So that's been satisfied. I would like to point out that a number of the comments that were made by the opposition, particularly people from Heritage, were complaining about current noise levels. We're in full compliance, and I would point out that there has been no shooting on the area that is the Sporting Clays course since April of 2019, so actually 4 years since then. So those complaints they've had about the noise that's existed at this club since 1955 when the club was established. And in terms of, there's been comments about increasing the intensity. We're not. We're just including another sport. And that's going to be a different area. But the membership levels are going to remain roughly the same as they were at the time that we
Which is
commenced.
approximately how many people?
When we commenced this proceeding, we had 202. The membership floats up and down. COVID decreased our membership a little bit. Our variance is based on 250 members. As I've explained in the past, we don't actually intend to go that high. We're really going to self-cap at about 225, but we wanted to leave a buffer there so we don't get caught if membership, because our membership does fluctuate, goes up and down a little bit. So we wanted to have that buffer room there so that we don't get caught in violation of that.
George, in addition to the noise, some of the comments focused around the lead. And from your last submission that I did read, I think you mentioned that the new stations, there's not a lead issue with the wetlands.
No, the hill, what I call the Sporting
Right.
Clays course, the hill, is completely dry. There's no wetlands up there whatsoever. But we are adopting the environmental stewardship plan that Dr. Petticord developed for us, and he's really the leading expert on that. And we do, after we build the Sporting Clays course, we do intend to go back to the ECB and apply for a wetlands permit to reclaim the lead on the old.
Weren't you treating that with some lime, or wasn't it?
Yes, lead is completely inert so long as you maintain that proper pH. So we treat with lime to maintain the neutral pH range. And that's part of our environmental stewardship plan. But we also do intend to remediate or reclaim the lead, which we intend to come back for. But we will have to get a permit for that, and we intend to do that. And we intend to do that in stages so that the trap fields don't get all shut down at one time. So we might do half at one time and then half at another. But that, and we're waiting until the sporting clays course is open so that we're not terribly impacting the operations of that. So we have an environmental stewardship plan, and the lead issues pertain to the existing club, not the
That's
not the
right,
sporting
yes.
clays course.
Yes.
Right?
Once you reclaim the lead at the old 5 stand, is there a possibility of going non-toxic, steel, bismuth? You know, any of those?
That's really not a feasible alternative, but what we are considering, and this is going to be a function of the economics of how much money we reclaim from the lead. There is a product or a device they call a shot curtain, and a shot curtain is basically a Kevlar material that's put on essentially telephone poles. The ones I've seen, the biggest one I've seen is actually at Cardinal Shooting Center out in Moreno, Ohio. It's an extremely big club, and their trap line is fully a mile long. And they have, believe it or not, they have a ballistic fence that's a mile long and 35 feet high. That's enormous. But what happens is when you put in a ballistic fence, ballistic screen, whatever you call it, it's a Kevlar, black Kevlar fabric. And you make like a gutter or a swale, typically a concrete catch basin. And what happens is the lead, because the fabric is not taut, it's a little bit, got a little bit of motion. The lead pellets do not ricochet off. They hit and they drop straight down into this swale. And then, monthly you sweep it up and put it into I'm trying to look at, you put it into a container and then you have the recycle, yeah. And that's when you reclaim, there's a whole procedure, and you have to have a toxic waste hauler pull it away. But lead is actually a valuable commodity. There's a lot of uses for lead, not just shot, but in a lot of manufacturing applications, they use lead. And so there's a very viable market for the reclaimed lead. So these are all things that we will be addressing with the ECB when we go back to get that wetlands permit.
Thank you.
So we kind of jumped ahead of our consultants here, but let me just, I don't think Mike had any comments. Rich, I believe you did, and I believe Pat did, then we'll come back and you can answer. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was looking at pictures of what the shot things look like. They're quite interesting, so you can look it up online.
I thought you were going to text them to me.
Everything's good. George explained the wetland limits on the drawing. Yes, he's correct in the assessment that the wetlands that were for this particular project that is here in front of us were shown on the drawings, and that they're waiting for the DEC to provide the additional lines for the remainder where he's talking about the others. So we're good.
Okay, and Pat?
So the last submission was a very thorough synopsis of all the questions that have been addressed and responses to those. There was one clarification we needed. So you indicated that weekly, there'd be a certified range officer going out to the shooting clay course, level 1 certified shooting instructor, to make sure it's set up correctly and to address safety issues. Your response also indicated, and to adjust the station locations. So does that mean the stations would somehow move?
No, the stations,
Or just
if I indicate that, I was mistaken. That's not what I was meant. The machines get changed, the stations will not change.
That wasn't clear.
The stations will not change. The stations will be as they're designated there. The machines get moved around each week. And the Sporting Clays chairman or one of the other people that do my job there check the machines for safety, interest, and make sure the shot stays where it's supposed to stay.
So the noise analyses that were done by the applicant, by our own consultant, were based on the station location? So as long as those remain fixed, those noise analyses are valid?
Correct.
Thank you. Let me also ask the board here if they have any questions. I know we've gone through this many times.
The only question, it's not a question, just the environmental stewardship plan that you're going to be adopting. Can you forward that to us?
That's on file, yes.
I looked through my materials. Do you guys have it?
I've sent it.
We do have it.
We do have it, I can get you a copy of it.
Maybe you can just recirculate it. Okay, but, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, just a curious question. I know the membership fluctuates. You said, what's the average age of the membership? Because I know you mentioned that sometimes you have, youth programs and all. But just curious, what's the
You
average
know, off the
age?
top of my head, I probably couldn't tell you, to give you a real answer, but from a gut level,
Yeah.
maybe 40 to 50 range, but we have much older people and much younger. I mean, we have teenagers, and we have people much older, so, and for instance, like, maybe about 2 weeks ago, I administered the First Shots program that's sponsored through, and I administer at our club for the National Shooting Sports Foundation. We did a program for the Girl Scouts, and these were like a dozen 13-year-old girls, and we had no intention of making them master-class shooters, but the idea was to introduce them to gun safety and gun awareness of all the issues, and to get them understanding the safety issues. So it was a very successful program. I'll admit that the 13-year-old girls were somewhat afraid of the guns to begin with, and at the end of it, they were very comfortable and they understood the shooting. So you go from that
Yeah,
to people well older than I am.
yeah. Great, thank you.
So I hope I answered it. Maybe I
Yeah, no,
didn't,
it's
but
good.
I tried.
George, we also discussed several meetings ago with the stations, I plan on putting this to a roll call vote tonight, but if approved, you're going to soundproof a couple of the stations closest to the residents. That hasn't been done because you weren't going to go through.
We can't, but on 13, 14, 12, and 4, there's going to be additional sound barrier work. On 13 and 14, there's going to be sides that come out and a roof over, and the interior of that is going to be lined with the soundproofing material that I showed you at one meeting. 12 is going to be an L-shaped, so that one branch of the L will be like parallel with Union Valley, and the other part of the L behind the shooting station, again, with the soundproofing material. And 4 is a single wall, again, with the material. And also there is a berm down at the end where the trail is coming down the hill behind the residents, the residences that are closest there. It's going to be a 3-foot tall berm with pine trees on top of that. Now that is mostly for visual screening so that those houses don't have to see golf carts coming down, but it also has some sound mitigation properties also.
So Pat, if approved, we should make that part of the approval.
It's shown on the plans.
Right.
Yep.
Any other
Yeah, the
questions?
berm is shown right there, where Adam just pointed out.
Any other questions from anybody? I know we've kicked the tires on this quite a bit. Rich?
Just, there's a bond, a performance bond is gonna be needed. I think you provided numbers, but I need it in the format that we typically use, so Pat has it. So if the resolution is gonna be moved forward, we will need that information beforehand.
I believe Rich did, Rich
He
Williams
provided
did-
it, but in not the format that I typically use, so I need him just to provide it in the standard
Okay.
format. You guys know what it is. Right, thank you.
Pat, would you facilitate the roll call vote?
Sure. So you have to make a motion.
Yeah, ready to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan as presented.
So it's directing a preparation of
And directing,
resolutions
yeah.
for consideration at next month's meeting.
And in addition, preparation of a resolution for the next meeting.
Second.
Pat's going to do the roll call vote.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. So.
No, we needed a second. Thanks.
Yep. So for the roll call vote, Vicky,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
John. Aye. Chairman Prather.
Yes.
Have the resolution for the next month's meeting, next week, next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a negative declaration?
There will be two resolutions, a negative declaration.
I'm sorry, if you need to speak, please, just for the people on the TV, you need to state your name and, thank you. Yeah. Pat started to
I think
answer
it's
it.
a clarification.
Hi, my name is Judy, and I live in Heritage Hills. I have sent many letters to you guys.
I just want to state that this is not a public hearing. As a
I
courtesy-
understand.
As a courtesy, we're just going to let.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Given that lead was found on Somers Trust Land Trust property and the remains of broken clay found on Heritage Hills property, it seems appropriate that environmental studies be done to determine the extent of lead contamination. It does not seem appropriate to make a decision without this information or that a negative declaration can be made without these studies. We trust that Carmel, it's too late for this, but there is lead in the soil at Willowwood, Somers Trust, that will potentially contaminate the rivers and the reservoir, and I don't understand why the appropriate studies weren't done.
We were very well aware of that submission. We've read through, we've discussed it. Pat, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, and your board will have a draft negative declaration that will address environmental issues, and that'll be a public document. You can take a look.
All right, I want to just say one more thing. When George said that the comments were reflecting the current format of the club, that is incorrect. We are concerned about the change in location because it's going to affect us in a very big way.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is, thank you, is John Chang, 716 Route 6, amended site plan. Good evening, Joel. Mike, I believe you had some comments. Mike there? Oh, there he is.
Yes, the applicant proposes a change of use for the second floor of the deli on the site from an office to a chapel and altar area and an office. Provide a floor layout for each floor, including all seating areas, dimensions, et cetera. The deli is not just a box, it was shown as a box, so just show us what they're doing in there. The kitchen area, whatever the uses are in there. It may lower your parking calculation, just so you understand why I'm asking for it. Provide North Point scale, graphic scale. The architect provided sprinkler and second means of egress are not needed, but did not provide the code section. Joel said he has it, he was gonna send it to me, I was not in the office.
I did email it to you.
I just wasn't in the office today. And just show that outdoor patio area that we discussed. There's an area with picnic tables, just, it should be on the plan if it's there.
Okay.
The outdoor patio is out back of the building?
Front left, I believe.
Front
If
left?
you look at the aerial, it looks like it's front left.
Okay.
It's not on the site plan though, so.
Rich?
So the only
Thanks,
requirement, they've addressed most of my comments. The only thing was the applicant needs to provide a wastewater and water report and provide it to the DEP. We provided the DEP information to the applicant, and he's reached out to the DEP, and we'll find out what happens when they do it. So,
Thank you. And Pat?
Just a few clarifications on this. As Mike indicated, when those numbers are provided, there will be a parking variance that's necessary. It's 5 now, that might adjust upward now. There were 2 points to clarify with respect to this. Number one, the hours of operation of the religious institution will never overlap the deli below. So the notion that they can share that parking space is a viable option. Whether you choose to have that as a condition of approval, that's up to you. And Joel's also clarified numbers. So they've got 32 seats in the worship space, and I think the building code maximum occupancy is 49. So it's somewhere between there. Again, you may choose to impose a condition of approval. The thing we talked about originally was, what if there's a wedding and 70 people show up? Do you turn them away because of how do you deal with that? So an enforceable method is to establish a condition that Mike theoretically could enforce. I don't know if Mike wants to kick out people from a wedding necessarily, but at least we have an enforceable number that's established, and Joel's provided those numbers. And he's also clarified no bells, no chimes, lighting, there's no special lighting. It's, again, operating the way it was operating.
So Pat, I had a similar concern when, I believe the title is it's a church, chapel, church. And to me, that means there might be weddings or affairs there. And I also worry about more than 39 people. So I think that's a good, I think we should
At
make
least
that
it's
condition.
enforceable if we have a number.
And also it happening during the hours of the deli being open.
Yes.
We're not
I
gonna have a
think
wedding
that-
at night.
Yeah, that definitely should be a condition of approval, to have, make sure the hours never overlap.
Another concern, Joel, can you explain the exit, is there 2 exits from the building? I've driven by it 100 times, I've pulled into a driveway, but I've not been upstairs in that space. If there's 39 people there and there's a fire, how do they exit?
That's the second floor, so it should still be the stairway.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The answer to your question is, and I provided Michael with the code requirements. If the occupancy is 49 or less, a second means of egress is not required in a space like this, which is public space, number one. And number two, the same thing with regards to sprinklers. I emailed Michael the actual sections of the code from the New York State Building Code, which indicates that the way this is laid out, a second means of egress is not required, and a sprinkler system is not required. Also, I might add too that, and I think the consultants are aware of that, when we first came before the planning board, at this particular time, the maximum number of people, according to the pastor, is 25, and he gave us a letter indicating that at no time will there be any, even though technically, because of the size of the space, we can accommodate 32, but he's assured us, and he's in writing, that the maximum number of people will be 25. So as far as that's concerned, I think we've addressed that issue. And as Michael indicated, we now show the specific seating arrangements and the altar for the entire upstairs. I know as far as the deli is concerned, we show where the kitchen. Do you want to actually lay out all the shelving? Is that what you're looking for?
Just a little better detail. The counters would be helpful. Okay.
Okay, that's no
So
problem.
Joel, there's one stairwell up and down?
Yes, and it's right over here. And the important thing is that the stairwell leads directly, you don't go through the deli. The staircase comes right down to the first floor, and there's an exit right out. There's no interaction with the deli at all.
Can you go through the deli through that entrance?
No.
Okay.
No, it's totally separate. There's 2 separate entities, and as I mentioned, from the second floor, you go down to the first floor and out.
Rich, does this require fire department review?
I would think so. I think that was one of my original comments, or they should be at least referred to. I believe you have referred.
I'll find out. I haven't heard anything, but I can find out.
I like the project. I just worry about, pick a number, 25, 35, 50 number of people above a delicatessen, above a restaurant. You know, too many times in the news you hear about a restaurant fire. I just worry about a gathering of people above stoves and cooktops and whatnot. At a minimum, I think we should have the fire department go out there. It's not sprinkled. There's not a second way of egress. I think we need a fire
So,
department.
Mr. Chairman, it's been sent to the fire department. Let's have Joel follow up with the fire
I'll follow
department.
up.
Please do.
But also, even though there was not a sprinkler system, there was a fire alarm system in the building. So that's there. But I think the consultants and the board have to have a good point to actually maybe even have a site inspection with the fire department so they can go through the plans and give comments back to the board.
Would there be candles or anything like that in any of the?
I'd like to see the fire department's
Nothing, so it's
response.
just all
Joel sent it, so.
Talk.
talking?
I'm sorry, Vic, what?
No, I said would there be candles or anything during any of the worship services?
No, no.
Good part today
question?
is they can use the LED candles too. They look
Yes.
like candles, but they're flashlights.
Yeah, but there'll be nothing flame. I know what you're talking about.
Gotcha.
John, Ray, Bob, any?
Is there a reason why you wouldn't put sprinklers in there, or can't put sprinklers in there, other than financial, to consider a
Well,
safety issue?
Well, the answer, you've answered the question. It's very costly to put a sprinkler system in that building.
I just
And
tried
it's-
to
and
address the chairman's concerns on
I understand
this.
it, and as I said, we'll have the fire department give their comments, but the code, based on the number of people, it's not required.
Joe, how many days a week would there be service?
And the services, if you, my memo indicates that the services will be held on Wednesday evening and Sunday evening.
Okay, so 2 days.
That's it. And the service is basically from 2 hours, from 4 PM to 6 PM on Wednesdays, and the same thing on Sunday. So basically, it's 4 hours a week.
The deli will be open during those times?
What's that?
The deli will be open during those
No,
times?
absolutely not. If you take a look at the memo I did back on May 1st, it's very clear that the, let's see, the deli will be open, deli hours are from 6 AM to 6 PM Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 7 to 3. So, and then the church opens at 4.
Yeah, but
So there
Joel-
is overlap.
No, Joe, you misread that. So Wednesday.
On the Wednesday, there's an
services
overlap.
are 7 to 9.
Oh, okay, then it's incorrect. The deli will be closed at least an hour before.
Sunday is the 4.
Yeah, no, okay, that, I'll correct that. There's no time will there be the service and the deli at the same time.
Well, Joel, so just clarify, the deli being open for business is one thing, but the reality is, do the people who run the deli, I mean, they may stay there after hours to prepare food for the next day, and that raises the spectrum, you know.
Well,
of
that's
what we're
that's
talking
why
about
there's
possible fire.
an hour gap between the technical time when the deli closes and the time that the services start, so there's at least 1 hour for them to clean up and do it. But there, at no point will there be both at the same time. And as Pat mentioned too, that's the situation with the parking. Technically, we need X amount of parking spaces for the deli and the prayer services, and they will never overlap. So we
Yeah, Joe, I
technically
think
have
the
enough
point is,
parking, but
what
we're
if-
going
what
for
if
the variance.
somebody's
I'm
there
sorry.
late using the fryer? That's what I think the fire safety concern is.
That's my point, yeah.
Okay. Well, again, we will do that inspection, and either the fire department will give us a written report or have somebody speak on their behalf.
We'd like to see the written report. I just had this horrible, we've all seen it on TV, on the news in the morning, right?
No, I agree with you. And just to follow up on what Rich was saying about the New York City DEP, I had a conversation with the gentleman that is going to be reviewing it. We had a long conversation, and then I wrote a memo and with a copy to Rich, which indicates that technically, so right now, there's a well, so the water's not a problem. But the building is tied into the sewer that's just right across the street on Fulton Falls Road. And I spoke to this gentleman from the DEP. There's actually capacity in there, but based on my calculations, if you take, if all the offices were rented and we have the 25 people at the services, of course, obviously, if you take the requirement for the 4 offices and the number of people, there's X amount of gallons of sewage that is going to come out. And you take the number of gallons for the services, which is, 4 hours a week, 25 people, actually, it comes out to approximately, there'll be actually almost 67 gallons of sewage less for the prayer service versus the offices. So we've actually reduced it, and I explained that to the gentleman, and he said that, I wrote it up in writing with the calculations, and he said he would send a letter to indicate that the DEP has no objection.
Okay.
But I think the other point is well taken, and I will contact
And
the
then
fire department and find
Get a
out.
hold of Rose and,
I'm sorry?
then get a hold of Rose and come back to us.
Oh, yes, of course.
That'd be great.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, by the way, happy Mother's Day to those.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, 728 Route 6, LLC, amended site plan. Mike, I believe you had some comments?
Yes, the applicant now has 3 food establishments at the former Lantern Pub. The applicant wishes to add 125 square feet to the front of the left side. There's a strip left that is not rented or used. Side of the building that will not encroach any further into the setback than what is already approved by variance in 1991. Provide the date of the variance on the plat. The addition must also get the necessary variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I looked into this. Because the building is already non-conforming with the variance, if you add to it, you do have to get an additional variance. Provide lot depth and lot width lines on the plat. Provide aisle width at the location of the 125 square foot addition. Oh, that's where the driveway comes out to Route 6.
Correct,
You
that's
didn't-
the exit driveway.
Yes, you didn't show us the width of the thing. A bollard and fence may be needed to keep vehicles from hitting the building and for people to not be able to dart right against the building and, God forbid, get hit by a car. The variance needed from, there's a variance granted on the site for parking. The way they're laying it out now, the variance is no longer needed, so they're actually in conformance with the parking for the entire site.
So what would the variance, I just assumed the variance was for parking. What's the variance that they need for?
Setback to the side and the front.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Mike. And Rich?
So referrals to the Mahopac Fire Department, New York City DEP for sewerage, Putnam County Department of Planning, GML 239N. You would need a permit, most likely from just New York City DEP, for the wastewater flows, or at least approval. Vehicle movement plan should be provided on the document, on the drawings, including all turning radii. And it's unclear as the type of vehicle or traffic which will be entering the site, and there's no definition regarding the delivery of goods to the site. The applicant will need to show if any work's being performed in the DOT right-of-way. I don't believe it is where they're doing this work, but if so, approval would be required from the DOT. They have provided the wastewater treatment report. Touch base with Rose. She'll give you the contact that Joel was talking about earlier. A legend should be provided on the drawings. Signs and pavement markings, do not enter, et cetera, should be provided at the ingress and egress of the sites. Any public improvements, performance bond and engineering fee would be needed. Details for the location, height, and type of exterior lights along with a spill plan should be provided. The proposed floor plans do not show building in relation to Route 6 and the parking lot. That should be clarified. And the proposed floor plans provide for 11 ingress and egresses to the building. Additional information should be provided regarding pedestrian safety and accessing these doors. This information should be provided on the site plan.
Thank you, Rich. And Pat?
Just one item, as you can see from the plan, it's a very tiny little addition that squares off the corner of the building, so there's really no significant issues with respect to that. The only issue is it's being built for a takeout pickup place, and it's not clear, Willie, if you could just explain, is that, would I go in a door and go to a counter, or is there a window where you'd collect your food from outside? If that's the case, as Mike indicated, that's that little pinch, and it's very narrow, and people would be standing in their driveway. So if you could clarify that.
I can clarify that, if you allow me for a second. The building,
You need the microphone.
With you, please?
I thought I was loud enough.
No, it's not for us, it's for the TV.
Okay. The proposed addition basically is 125 square foot, just to make the operation safer and easier and more aesthetically pleasing to the building. The building itself has shrunk by 140 square feet by moving the front away and decreasing the nonconformity with the setback. We really kept that. We're going to discuss that when we go to the zoning board. We understand we are altering a pre-existing non-conforming, so therefore we are going to need the variance. We're not arguing about that, but the increase in the building itself really is still decreased in the square footage from this originally approved. And the building as it is already exists, and if we don't do this, we really don't need to come here. This space is ready to go. And it's going to be strictly takeout business, and it's not going to be from the outside. It's going to be on the inside. And on the plan we showed the space, I don't know if you can see it, this whole region here is going to be the area for the takeout. All we're doing is we are increasing the front of the building to align with the existing building. So
But again,
therefore,
Willie, no
it will
win-
be within the same sidewalk,
Just-
like I said, will be.
But no window on the side?
No window on the
You have to
side.
go in
There is a
and
window
close.
just to bring in light, only this is gonna be non-operable, it's fixed glass storefront. It's gonna strictly access from the front, from the existing sidewalk, which will be extended, and we'll have a little cover over it, which, like I said, will make it a lot easier for and a lot safer to get in and out.
So this is that is a good point that Pat had, because when I was driving here tonight, there was a car exiting, coming around right by that window where that 120 square foot building is. So this is another separate business from the three businesses that are there today?
Correct, yes. It's gonna be a dumpling store, strictly takeout. There'll be no tables, nothing. It'll be like, you're gonna walk in, there will be a counter over here for customer pickup. Probably, there'll be a display of sort of, no, a sort of a beverage, the refrigeration for somebody, like if they need to pick up soda with it. That's about it. There's no table, there's no sitting down. 100% it's strictly takeout. And like I said, the increase in the square footage was to make the building a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and to put it underneath the sidewalk, the covered sidewalk, which will make it, during the rain, what have you, a lot easier to get in and out.
And is the food preparation in the back of that facility, is that how it would work?
Yes, it's going to be strictly a kitchen in the back. It's a small operation. Yeah. With dumpling, it's not really that. The menu is like 4 or 5 different items on it. That's about it.
Questions from the board? Otherwise, I think this is more of a zoning senate. Obviously, will you need to comply with Rich's comments that he?
I mean, I'd like to just talk briefly about that. I mean, what we're trying to do here is this addition will not impact the traffic or any of the operation of the circulation of the site plan as it exists. Now, if there are certain items, I mean, when the renovation took place in this building, it was to be put back to the originally approved site plan, that's what we did. Now, if there are any traffic circulation signs and what have you, we'll be more than happy to address those. But from what I was listening to Richie saying, it's like basically a whole brand new site plan that we have to go through.
That's
and I
not
think
correct.
that's, I would like to ask the board to waive certain items, but I will meet with Richie and discuss it, and we'll be more than happy to comply with all the traffic circulation and aisle, what have you.
Right, so just show the widths, show the size of the parking spaces, make sure that they are code compliant. None of that's on the drawing. It's an
Exactly.
existing plan, but now you have to show it on this. You also have to show, you're telling us now that pedestrians will walk in the front of that building. Where are they parking? How are they getting in the front of that building and not getting run over by a car? Or hit by a car. So you need to show at least signage or some way you're going to provide safety for people walking into a dumpling place. That's all. I mean, I'm not asking for a whole new site plan. I'm asking you to make sure that what's on the site plan is clarified for the safety of the public
No
and the
problem.
people on there. So I'm not
I'll
asking
meet
for a
with
whole
you
new
and you
site
guide me
plan.
through it, and I'll be more than happy
Well, I
to
think
comply.
you have 90% of data.
Yeah, I think it's theirs.
I'll sit down with Richie.
And I will say the applicant, they put in a grease trap. They didn't have to put in a grease trap, they put in a grease trap for us. So they're ahead of the game on that. They're gonna meet with the DEP. You provided a water and wastewater report. We'll get that over to them. So I'm not asking for a new site plan. I'm just asking you to show some of that information.
No problem,
Right?
we'll do that.
If you put new lights on there, did you put new lights on from the old lantern? Then you should probably have a light.
There are
spill
some
light
lighting,
plan.
I will locate that on the site plan.
That's all that should be there. So just.
I'll sit down with
listen,
you and we go over it, don't worry about it.
You got it on, you got everything in there, things are working, glad the business is going good, but now you have a site plan, you've come for a site plan, these are some of the details that should be on a site plan. They're already there, just show them.
No problem.
It's a huge improvement to what was there. I mean,
Okay.
They fixed it up nice.
We'll have those for the next meeting all addressed. Like I said, I'll call Richie, make an appointment. I know he's very busy, but I'm sure he can squeeze me in for 10 minutes.
No, 3.
All right?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to deny the applicant to the zoning board of appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you
Mike.
very much. Do you need to sign the map for the denial?
I don't think I have a stamp. You check that box right at the front? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you at the next meeting. Have
Okay. Last on our agenda tonight is A&B Holdings, GCCM LLC, 93 Tea Kettle Sprout Road, final subdivision. Mike?
Yeah, this may be the most confusing memo I've ever written, but the applicant is legalizing a subdivision that happened several years ago without his knowledge. The original parcel, 7617-118, was illegally divided into 18.1 and 18.2 by deed. This was back years ago. The previous owner attempted to build on lot 17, which is the middle piece, but was told to get more land by the ZBA. He divided 7617-118 into 18.1 and 18.2 and tried to merge the two lots together and build on it. The zoning board told him, that's great that you've got the additional property, but you need to return to the planning board to do it legally. After they did that, they let it go to taxes. Both pieces of property went to taxes. The county, after that, took the two pieces of property that were both in tax sale, I guess is what they call it, merged them together, sold it to Mike as a building lot. He thought he had a building lot, applied for building permit to me. We looked at the old maps and it showed it as a different layout than what he actually purchased. I have no objection to the subdivision as it is clearing up an illegal subdivision that happened many years ago, and the current owner bought what he believed to be a building lot. The necessary variance was granted by the ZBA. All my zoning comments have been addressed.
That was confusing, Mike, you're right.
It's very, it took us months to get through
Yeah,
this, to finalize it, so I think we
Thank you, Mike.
have it.
So the applicant has noted the referrals and the permits that are needed. They've provided the SWIP, which is currently under review. They've acknowledged the need for a maintenance agreement if needed, and they've acknowledged the need for a performance bond, and they will provide as part of the final resolution. The application, this is just a matter of clarification, it's nothing crazy, but when the application came in, it said that there were easements related to the site, but they've said that there aren't easements. Just clarify that. Your application had one thing, but if there are easements, they should be provided. If there are no easements, then don't worry about it, right? But just make sure it's clarified at that time. You can send it in a letter that there are no easements.
There's no easements.
So,
Just documenting.
it also identified that the application now identified 10% of space will be set aside for open space. That's because it's a subdivision. I don't know if that's something we do at this, and so Mike's saying no, but again, the application had that information in there. We just need to just clarify that, so that's a matter of record, that it's not needed and not required
How
there.
much property is this?
This is,
0.98
yeah,
acres.
it's,
0.98.
there's not gonna be area
Right,
dedicated
that's
to open
why
space.
The
Right,
space
but-
would alleviate the need for a recreation fee, I believe it is.
Right, right.
And he can't do that.
That's why
He doesn't have the land to give up.
Right, so again, it's just a matter, the application had that information, we just want to make it clarified as a matter of record, right? This isn't anything you need to do extra, it's just a matter of record. There are some typographical errors on sheet CO1, again, easy stuff. The wetland area identified on drawing C200 and subsequent drawings in the southeast portion of the site should be shown on the legend. You will need to put in county DOH approvals for the lots that are there and submitted for the board's records. That would be something Mike would require as part of the building. I've gotten already clarification. There was a rain garden, but the rain garden's been removed, so the details for the rain garden are not required as part of this. They should provide a site distance calculation for that driveway that's in there. And there are just driveway profiles, that slope should be the first 15 feet less than 6%, which is already shown, midway through less than 15%, and the last 30 feet less than 7%. And all utilities must be buried. There is a pole, drawing shows a pole. I don't know if you're taking your pole and then burying it to get to the property, so that just needs to be clarified.
Real quick, the pole was put in by NYSEG. The power goes down the pole and underground.
So it is buried, so that
Yeah.
just needs to be identified on the drawing.
Okay.
It's just a note, but it's,
And no issues on my end, Mr. Chairman. As Mike described, this is a correction of a confusing condition that's being rectified through this process.
We like the intent to clarify. What's the plans for this property? Building a single-family home?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That would be my only recommendation when we do approve this subdivision, make it a merger simultaneous, because you're merging the two lots, 17 and 18.1, I think it is.
It was 7617 and 18.1 now is now 17.
Oh, that's right, it's already done. Disregard. The county already did it, so we're straightening out what the county did.
Well, straightening out's good. Any questions from the,
Yeah, I just want to, because, so I printed out the tax map from the county, and because, to be honest with you, I think, and everybody else, were really confused by what happened. So 18.1 no longer shows up. When you type that tax map number in, it comes up nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, so when you type in 17, then you get it.
Get my whole block.
That's correct.
Correct. So the county had merged them. So what, tell me what we're going to do to fix this.
We're gonna, that one line is being made legal, right? Sorry. That one line across the back of 18.1,
One.
which no longer exists, but was never there, never
Right.
done legally, it was done by deed. He's putting that line in to make the entire 17 and 18.1 become 17, and now he's got it right here.
So it's.
I'm sorry, the microphone, not for us, again.
Yeah, it's
for
for people.
People on television.
So it's this one piece from here to here. That's it. Because it showed the horseshoe. And when I bought it, I bought this block. But this one piece was the problem area, that one little spot.
That's it.
And now, hopefully it's not.
Okay. And Pat, so we do have, as a board, have the authority to correct that?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
You, in fact, that's the
You're the
whole
only
point.
one.
You're the only one that can fix
Okay,
this.
all right.
So the poor applicant thought that it could have been done administratively in some other manner. Unfortunately, this is the only legal method to correct the condition.
I tried to recommend doing it by lot line adjustment, because that's what it kind of is. But there would have been so many variances required, because you're only allowed 15% of the property, not over a certain amount. This is the right way, and everything's going to be correct at the end here.
All right. It's unfortunate it happened, but, you know, we
Yeah.
just, my only concern is make sure we do it right, whatever we do.
And it
So-
took a year to do it. Next month is a year, and I've done everything that I could possibly do to correct it.
I would like you to just, Rich's points that he brought out, it's just some cleaning up, so I'd like this file to
Yeah,
be
mine are
very
just
clean.
ministerial, there's nothing of
that's what I mean,
substance to
you
them.
know,
Just a matter of fixing the
just-
drawings, make things
You
clarified.
Cross your Ts and dot the Is on what Pat, Rich and Mike had mentioned.
Absolutely.
We'll have a nice clean file on this, because it wasn't
Absolutely.
clean what you
And I'll
inherited.
say, Mr. Chairman, that Alvaro standing behind the applicant is a competent engineer, so he can take care, he knows exactly what we need to do.
Thank you, Pat. Good evening. Yes, I feel it was a disservice to my client not to say a few words tonight. This site plan is really for, as you know, a single family residence. It's a modest footprint, pretty much in line with the character of the neighborhood and the adjoining properties. We're not seeking any variances. We went through a comprehensive stormwater management plan, and we acknowledge we have a few approvals ahead of us. We're hoping that tonight we can secure a resolution with some conditions and hopefully move this forward in the process.
So I'll ask the board to make a motion to schedule a public hearing, but I think in parallel to that, to speed it up a little bit, we can ask Pat to prepare a resolution to have ready. It'll speed you up 2 weeks, but still, we can do that in parallel for you.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing on this applicant.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And Pat, you'll prepare a resolution? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
too.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Minutes.
Rose distributed minutes of January 25th, 2023, February 22nd, 2023, and March 22nd, 2023. Has anyone had an opportunity to review them and would like to make a motion to accept them?
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed them. I've made some very minor comments on each of them to Rose. I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.